You are about to opt in to Monerotopia, a show for the Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
All right.
Hello.
There we go.
We're muted. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Happy Saturday, everyone.
Happy Saturday.
Cheerios. How's life going? Doug making that Monerotopia coffee, probably.
Yeah, so good. So good. We need it today. Another big Friday night, another big meal.
Yes, very good. He's a chef, guys. Not gonna lie. He made delicious veal parm.
Veal parmesan, my Nana's recipe. I don't call her Nonna. I call her Nana. So I guess I'm not super hardcore Italian. I'm definitely not hardcore.
No, you're not.
Completely Italian on my mother's side. Sunita doesn't think I'm Italian enough because I don't speak any Italian. I wish I did.
Yeah. No, but you're Italian. You're Italian. You got the
I can barely speak English. Jesus. I suck at languages. Franya's amazing though.
Yes, she's really good.
She's got the language skills.
Yes, she does.
So what's up? What do we got going on?
Oh, so many things.
We have everybody on that we're gonna bring up. We have a special guest today.
We do.
Like every Monerotopia episode, we bring on a guest. We've really ironed out the details of the show. So every show we're gonna have small talk, which is what's happening right now, guys. I hope you're loving it. Then we're gonna do price report.
Yes.
Is our price report guy
yes
on deck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He is.
Then we're gonna bring up our special guest. This week it's what's her name? Elizabeth, and she's gonna talk about XMR to Ethereum or Ethereum to XMR atomic swaps. She came out of nowhere, as far as I could tell. I don't know. We'll bring her on. Maybe she's been doing other stuff in the Monero community, but she already built this and it's on its way. But we'll get into that. And then a news segment, quick little news segment, fast. We'll keep it short.
Yes.
And then we'll bring on the audience. So that's when you guys get to jump in. And when we bring you guys on, we can talk about the news. You could ask the guest questions and whatever else you want to talk about.
Oh, people are asking how your ankle is doing, Douglas.
Oh, wow. People remember?
Oh, they care.
It's doing a lot better. So I did tear it. Did I?
No, I don't think you talked about it. No.
I got an MRI. It's torn. It's not my Achilles. It's this brevis tendon on the side of my ankle, for anybody who knows tendons. And yeah, they said it won't heal. Actually, it's not going to heal on its own. That I do, like, if I want it to heal, I would need surgery, but I might be able to just live with it. And then once the swelling goes down, I can just. But I find that hard to believe because I like to run, I like to exercise, like to do. Although I did go to the gym yesterday and I experiment with some squats. So we're on the.
When they say no to Douglas is like, "What do you mean no? Can't. What are you
gonna prove them wrong?"
Yeah, sure, it's good stuff.
Yeah. What else I interviewed
Jack Rysider.
Jack this week.
Yeah, the interviews
of Darknet Diaries, which I'm sure probably all of you have heard because the guy has like 70,000 subscribers or something, or much more than that. He gets tons and tons of downloads. His show is amazing. It's kind of like an NPR style show, very well done. He tells a story every time, and every story is related to the dark net, and he really gets into it, but it's like really well edited. And
yeah.
Did you listen to any of his episodes?
I listened to like one. But
And he's had a few episodes where Monero has come up by name. But I had him on. He is interested in Monero. He hasn't stopped to really research it deeply, but he's definitely intrigued. I think, especially because he sees it keep coming up in the in the shows that he does. So I'm hoping maybe it sparks him going down the rabbit hole. He posted a Monero donation address, so if anybody does listen to a show, send him a little tip. I sent him a little tip yesterday. Everybody send him a little something. Show him a little Monero love. That might get him
something.
Might get him more interested. Like he's somebody who should really, pursue Monero more deeply, given his understanding of all this stuff. And it was a good show.
People seem to like it. So.
What else would we have?
Oh, Monerotopia.
That little detail.
That little detail.
We ironed that out.
Yes, I believe we did.
So we're gonna relaunch it coming soon. It's gonna be same domain.
Just actually, style.
I see we have Francisco on.
Yes.
Francisco's on. Francisco he confirmed that he will join. He looked it over. He confirmed he will be a speaker, part of the uncensored. The daytime version. So, yeah, we're having the curated during the day, and then the anything goes at night, where anybody can self-register to speak just by sending a Monero down payment, which they'll get back if they show up. But the idea is for the night session, there's no gatekeepers, so we're not responsible. Nobody's responsible. Obviously, we throw some guidelines out there. We want people to show up and talk about free speech money, talk about Monero. But beyond that, we're not involved, so that we could avoid the situation that we got ourselves in the first go around.
That pickle.
And then the daytime is going to be like traditional conference, which should be amazing. We already have Francisco. He's down. And yeah, we're just going to spend the next couple of weeks trying to get some Monero heavy hitters, like the Franciscos of the world, the people that are actually behind the scenes building Monero. So anybody out there that's listening to this, that's interested in participating in the daytime curated section, that's, hardcore into Monero, working on Monero, maybe you're a dev, please reach out. We're going to be reaching out to people as well. And then we'll be posting the site soon where, people can sign up
to their
themselves that want to speak at night. That should be very interesting.
Yeah.
And we'll probably have we're not sure if we'll have 4 or 6 slots for the evening.
We haven't figured that out yet, but
we'll release them slow instead of putting them all out at once. So so they don't all get taken at once. We'll maybe put 1 out every month or 2 out, and then another 2. So everybody kind of has a chance to learn about it and then apply. So we'll see what we get. It should be fun.
Yeah.
What's James saying? James always saying something good here. I fly to Miami, just have coffee with Articmine. Yeah. And let him make me feel stupid. Seriously. The guy's on another level. But yeah, so that's cool.
Yeah.
We got that going.
Yeah. You can still purchase your tickets now before relaunching the new website, but
yeah,
going to the same thing.
Please do, guys. We need the momentum. We took a hit there. We took a hit with the backlash from the Chris Sky thing.
Debacle.
So if you want to support and keep the thing, the best thing you do is just buy an early bird ticket. As you'll see,
MONEROTOPIA.com.
MONEROTOPIA.com. Keeping the ticket prices as cheap as possible. Oh, you don't have the little banner going.
Oh, I don't.
Yeah, put the little banner up.
Little banner. There you
go. But yeah, in the next few days we'll relaunch it. We'll tweet it out. I think it all works. It works well.
It will all come together.
It's all coming together, whether you like it or not, guys.
Whether you like it or not.
We're charging ahead. We're charging ahead. So
we have options. So.
I think we should jump to the price report.
Yeah. So I made a little intro for it, guys. Hope you like it.
Guys, what's the guy's name?
A Fungible.
A Fungible. Yes.
He's online.
We spoke to him yesterday. We put a post up on Reddit. Anybody that wanted to help do a price report every week. A Fungible reached out. Another guy reached out too. Anybody else also reach out? Maybe we'll switch it up. Whoever wants to do it, because maybe we want to do it every week. So if we had a few people that can jump on, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So this week we got a fungible. He's going to give it a go.
So yeah, let me do my little intro, guys.
Let's do it.
Woo! The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer. Woohoo!
Nice.
Yeah, I'm going to add a fungible on.
All right.
How's it going? Hello, hello. Can you hear us?
Oh, sorry, I was always on mute. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah, we got you, man.
Oh, great. Nice to see you guys here. And I'm going to share my screen.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Get right to it. Thank you, man. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks again.
No, my pleasure. Absolutely. Just I was doing this for the first time with this StreamYard. So let me check if I can.
Sure. Oh, I see. I
share
can
it.
add
Oh,
your
yeah.
screen.
Okay, so should I get going?
Yes, please do.
Go right.
All right.
Go
So
right.
yeah, this was like a price report that I just made. This is just a fundamental report on what's going on in the network. So this is just what I could find. I did a little bit of hunting down on the Google Trends, on the network stats, on the project activities and the adoption that is going on. This is something that the community already knows, but I just wanted to put everything inside in one place. Because all these things affect the fundamental price because the project has to keep going. And this is an interesting part which I actually found, around December 2017, beginning of 18, we had the price peak. Monero reached $540, and what you see 100 is the reference of where we are in terms of the public interest. And let's say there was a lot of retail interest that time and the price reaches peak. And today, if you fast forward, if you go down the road, May 2021 was when Monero peaked again, around $480, not exactly at the peak of 2017, but the interest was still like 25% of what it was back in 2017, which clearly shows there hasn't been the retail money in Monero as yet. However, the network has continued to strengthen and it's really strong. And at this point in time, we have dropped 50% of the peaks of 480, around 250, and you can see that it's just 15% in terms of the kind of the public interest that we had global worldview, basically a snapshot. So we are consolidating around this range of 240, and I will come to the price part at the end. Let me just go through what's going on in the network as well. We are, as you can see, at the network hash rate has peaked. This is a really good thing because it has to go on either linearly or exponentially, but I think it's doing pretty good in terms of the network, how much hash power or how much computing power is being in the network, basically protecting Monero, let's say. And these are some of the key stats which also directly or indirectly affects the price part. The network hash rate year on year, that is exactly the same time in November 2020 versus in 2020-21. We see the network has actually grown twice the network hash rate, the amount of power protecting the network, computing power. The transactions per day have literally doubled. And this was an interesting part because somebody on Reddit had posted, I got in touch with him. The transactions on it did a beautiful part to actually find out how much of transactions are happening on the Bitcoin chain versus the Monero chain, and it's pretty interesting. Year on year, it has so out of every 10 transactions that are happening on Bitcoin today, one transaction is happening certainly on Monero. And this can also be a bit misleading because it can also be kind of like a false transactions to kind of break the network, I suppose, but it's been quite consistent. So in a way, it's also good news because interest in Monero is actually growing. And also one of the interesting stats I see with respect to price, like if you see any kind of Reddit crypto project, the number of Redditors actually is a kind of direct reflection of the price as well. So I will come to the next screen. So it's actually grown by around 60, 70,000. This is the Redditors for Monero, which have been growing steadily since 2018. And you can see like there is a slight exponential twitch to this. And I actually see the adoption actually really picking up, especially you would have heard the news on, darknet, the usage of Monero. That is like kind of like the, shady side, as some might say. But, that is how even Bitcoin started. And it's eventually spilled into the masses. The technology has to spill into the masses. So that's where we are at the breaking point of that, I suppose. And some of the activities that actually go on into 2022 is like, as we all know, atomic swaps, Monero payment integrations is happening at a fast pace, a lot of GitHub activities. Sorry, I could not have the time to put the GitHub activities into this presentation, but you can see like there is a lot of new activities are happening in terms of C++ development. Havino project has coming up, which is based on Monero, Havin protocol, the privacy wallet, and X currencies. That's like a beautiful concept, in my opinion. And from what I see in the overall scheme of things, after quite some digging down over the last many months, I see that Monero is actually one cycle behind Bitcoin. So Monero today is where Bitcoin was in 2016, consolidating around 200, 300, $400 for a very, very long time. And there was a time when it just click, went up, broke that upward resistance, and that made into a support. So also we see a lot of YouTubers coming up with Monero mining. A while ago, I posted this on Reddit. This is like like YouTubers with a million subscribers and stuff posting about Monero. That's also a pretty bullish thing in my opinion. And also, of course, public awareness, YouTube activity, Monero Talk, Moreno Matteo, and many more doing a wonderful job. So this is where we are in terms of price. I would say in terms of, people always talk about holding Bitcoin versus Monero. Yes, Monero hasn't been performing yet well as compared to Monero. It was earlier on in 2017, but right now it's in a very sharp consolidating pattern right now, as I see. And also, but certainly holding Monero beats US dollar. So it's always much, much better for a person to hold Monero against US dollars. And as you can see, for 1 year, you still have pretty decent returns. And finally, this is the final slide of my presentation, is the stock to flow model. A lot of people are aware of the stock to flow model from Plan B on Bitcoin. And this can be done on any asset per se. Just to kind of give a brief on this to the viewers here, a stock to flow model is basically it depicts the abundance of a particular resource. It's basically as simple as the amount of resource held in reserves, like that is with public. So amount of Monero held with people around, divided by the amount produced annually. So as we approach 2022, around mid of 2022, when the amount of Monero in circulation is going to go to nada, zero, and then tail emission is going to start, which is about, if I remember correctly, 0.6 XMR per block every 2 minutes. So that is when the scarcity really hits. And I kind of see the price action over there. And this was, I stole this chart from MoneroTopia.net. And it's actually coincides pretty well around that time when we can supposedly see a peak. So this is where we are. Basically, that is the end of my presentation. It's at a consolidation at the moment as we speak. And what I did was a fundamental covering of the price action. Of course, technically, last week it's been going around between 220 and 260 to $70. I think it's going to stay this way for a while until it breaks the resistance of $320. And if we are in a position to breach $320, I don't see any kind of resistance upward until the previous all-time highs, which was around which was around 500 odd dollars. And once we break past that, I mean, I think we can go wild.
All right.
Yes, that's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wasn't expecting so much detail. I like that you gave all the positives unrelated to price in the beginning, which obviously are actually more important than the price itself. So that was good that you covered that. So anybody that was tuning in got to see all that. I mean, all the metrics on Monero that count are up. Transaction count being probably the most important one. So that's good to see. And yeah, like you're saying, if we break through that resistance line coming up,
Yeah, $320 is what is actually becoming kind of an annoyance to people. But I think it's just a matter of time. I think we just have to give it time. Let it grow organically. Then we'll see what happens.
Usage is going up, and the amount of Monero that's being supplied to the market is going down in its most basic analysis. So, you guys.
I mean, actually, it's a good thing because the longer we stay in this range, the better it is for Monero. I see it the other way. Because the longer it is in this range, it has a high potential of actually, as the mass adoption is coming in and this Monero is staying in this range of 200 plus, and then we can just, I don't know, it's all magic. Magic can happen in the future. We don't know, but
yeah, no, I'm saying the amount of Monero that's being emitted is going down with time.
Absolutely.
But the usage is going up.
And also, I think recently we heard the news of Kraken UK delisting Monero. In a way, that's also bullish news in my opinion, because people who have never heard about Monero probably get to hear it for the first time. Something is happening. Monero is being delisted.
I like that. You're an optimist. Same here.
So, I mean, I think we have to give
like it Bitcoin maxis. All news is good news, right? Like, oh, well, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah, but I think there is a buffer period between now and 2022 mid. I think we have to give it like 6 to 8 months. I think irrespective of where this market goes into. And I also have a feeling that at the end of the bull run, that's just my feeling, that at the end of bull run, Monero can become something.
All right,
because money can come into that.
100%. Well, I'm gonna cut you off only because
sure.
we want to keep this segment relatively short, and hope to have you on again, and we'll keep doing this. And whoever else wants to come on and do a price report, please reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man. Stay around.
I will be staying tuned on the show anyways.
Yes,
I will stop sharing.
Okay, so that concludes the price report section. It was a very that was a good analysis because he went way beyond the price and talked about the things that actually matter. So thank you local Monero for sponsoring our price report segment. We should actually quote the local Monero price in USD. Well, if you want to buy it online, we're looking at prices around 245. And for cash, we're looking at around 270. Cash comes with a premium, guys. If you want to use local Monero to buy Monero with cash, local Monero, as I'm sure you guys, well, if you're not aware of, you should be, is one of the most ideal ways to acquire or sell Monero because you do it in a peer-to-peer way. And as a fungible talked about at the end there, we want to move away from exchanges, and local Monero is something that allows us to do that. Among other things we got going on, like atomic swaps, which look at that segue, which brings us to our next guest.
Yes, and I will be. The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet. Store, send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
Woo! All right.
All righty. We'll bring Elizabeth on. Hello. Welcome.
Hey guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks.
Thanks for doing this. So, what's your story? Have you been in the Monero world for quite some time?
Yeah, it's a great question. I've sort of been a Monero follower fan for a while. I guess it started back in 2017, I believe. I worked on a project I was thinking about bringing privacy to Ethereum using ring signatures, as we all know, Ethereum doesn't really have any privacy. At the time, this was before like zero knowledge stuff really took off. So I was thinking ring signatures sounds pretty cool. So I got into the ring CT paper, like the original Monero like kind of tech paper. Didn't go implementation of it. Tried to put it into Go Ethereum. The project didn't really take off anywhere. I think because the zero knowledge stuff really got big around after then. So yeah, but that was kind of my intro into the tech, and I really liked it. It was just like really, it was simple, like it was like really, really just nice. And then since then, sort of just followed Monero, but didn't really do any like dev work or anything. And then earlier this year, followed the Reddit. And yeah, I just saw all the hype on the atomic swaps, and I thought that was really cool. So I've just kind of been lurking around for a while, but
well, this is the bullish indicator. You know, people like you that are working behind the scenes that are just motivated to start doing things for Monero, start building tech for it. This is more important than anything else. The fact that the Monero project attracts, I don't know, is it fair to call you a cypherpunk? Or cypherpunks like yourself that come out to work. I mean, you built this thing already, right? You built the prototype. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, you can say that. Prototype.
Right. You did it without even doing a CCS funding or anything. You just went about it and you did it, which is amazing. So what actually motivated you then to take that step and do it? Why'd you decide to work on this project, the Ethereum to XMR swaps?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess, so I saw the Bitcoin XMR atomic swap posts like earlier this year, and I thought that was really cool. I read like the paper and everything, really liked it. And then around a month ago, there was an Ethereum hackathon in Lisbon called ETH Lisbon, and I attended. I wanted to build something out. I was really thinking about like what I could do. And then I thought about doing the ETH Monero atomic swaps. Just on a quick search, saw that no one else had really implemented it yet. And I thought it was just like something that would be really, really useful. That was kind of like my motivating factor to like really start building it with this hackathon. But yeah, I was thinking about it for a while. And then after the hackathon, obviously I wanted to continue the project. So yeah, here I am.
Now, I'll ask you a few other questions that are more detailed, but I'm not sure if I'll even understand the answers. But on a technical level, so we've seen now atomic swaps between Bitcoin and Monero. There's the Farcaster implementation and the Comet implementation. How, is what you've done similar in terms of fundamental technology, like what's taking place underneath the hood, or is it a completely different animal, the swap between Monero and XMR versus Bitcoin and XMR?
Yeah, for sure. I'd say it's pretty different. Definitely, I think the ETH-XMR is a lot more simple because we have the smart contracting functionality, which deals with a lot of like the heavy lifting, I guess, that in the Bitcoin Monero atomic swap you would have to deal with. Using like adapter signatures, for example, like the ETH one doesn't have that. It's just, it's a lot more straightforward. Like a lot of it happens in a smart contract.
And is it currently only one way?
No, it can go both ways.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Well, how does that work? Because I know that was a limitation with the Bitcoin to Monero atomic swap. Wasn't as easy to go both ways.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if I entirely understand the reason it can't go both ways, but from what I read, it was because on Monero you can't do transaction pre-signing. Like you can't, for example, like sign a transaction that builds off another transaction, because obviously it's like private, like the transactions are not like visible as they are on Bitcoin. So I think that was the reason, if I understand it correctly, that you could only have one way for the Bitcoin Monero ones. But the ETH Monero swap doesn't require any sort of like transaction pre-signing or anything like that. So so it didn't really have that limitation.
Very cool. Very cool. So what stage is it currently at?
What stage is it currently at? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so there's a simple POC working. So the POC right now, it has a networking layer. So this is for peers to, so some background, like I'm imagining that it's going to be like a sort of peer-to-peer system that people can just run this daemon on their machine and then connect to the network. And then if they wish to do a swap, they can call into the daemon to discover peers that they can swap with. So right now there's a networking layer that you can discover peers who provide a certain coin. There's a Monero like backend that interacts with a Monero daemon and RPC server running on your machine, or just wherever. There's an ETH backend in the swap as well.
We're hearing some noise. We're hearing some
noise
on the keyboard or something, just because I don't want people to not be able to hear you.
Okay. Is it better now?
Are you literally coding as we speak? Are you literally?
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah, is it better? I might have been like breathing.
I think we're just slowing her down. We should just let you get back to work.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know if I can change my mic, so I'm sorry. Sorry if there's noise.
Oh, no worries.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, cool. So there is the ETH backend, and then there's the actual swap protocol implementation. So this step basically is there's some messages passed between two peers, which the networking layer takes care of, and there's also some contract interactions, which the ETH side takes care of, and then on the Monero side, there's basically you just generate a wallet at the end that has the Monero in it that was locked. So that's kind of where it is, and then you can run it on your computer, try it out on like local like devnets like Ganache or the Monero reg test option. Yeah, so I've tried it out. Works on Linux. I don't know what other machines. I assume it probably works on Mac, but haven't tried it. So yeah, that's where it's at.
Amazing. How long? Somebody asked. How long did it take you to get to this point to building?
So I've been working on it for around a month, I'd say now, maybe slightly over a month. Yeah.
Wow. That's not
too
bad.
Yeah.
That's a lot more than I can get done in a month. Amazing.
Yeah.
Now I saw you put up a bounty. Sunit, you want to? I think I sent you the link.
Yeah.
Let's screen share that. You posted that bounty, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and you want to quickly describe what you're looking for there? Like, what's the bounty? What's the bounty for? What we're trying to?
Yeah, for sure. So after I posted on Reddit, there was a lot of support that came out, which was awesome. And some people sort of suggested that I post a bounty for it. And I thought, yeah, sure, why not? So the bounty is essentially to keep building out the implementation up until the point where a LiveNet swap can be executed. So the bounty is, I guess the payout is for a LiveNet swap. I think at the point where the bounty's done, it'll basically just prove that this does really work on a real network. But I think there will still be work afterwards for like the UI and like wallet integration and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the bounty, so the main thing is the mainnet swap. And then the few other things are there, just like increased testing and like failure, case failure testing in case something goes wrong, like a little CLI for people, and then docs. So I think that's basically it.
Yeah. So anybody watching, we encourage you. Can you even put you can copy and paste the donation address? Well, that's fine. Put the bounty there. Yeah. Anybody's watching this, like, oh man, I hope this gets done sooner than later. Contribute to the bounty. I'm sure the larger that prize gets, the more enthusiasm will be behind finishing this thing and getting it to that stage. So are you going to be participating in that as well, trying to achieve the bounty as well?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
This is great. This is great to see. So are there other things in Monero that you're interested in potentially working on, or are you always thinking ETH related, or what are some other things that you might want to work on?
Oh yeah, totally. I've been working in the blockchain space for a few years now as like a mostly protocol level engineer. So I think potentially in the future, like I'd love to contribute to the protocol, just updating the client, like anything like that. might have to improve my C++ a little, but but yeah, I'd love to contribute to the protocol in the end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I'm satisfied.
Yes.
Anything else you want to bring up? You want to mention, Elizabeth?
No, that's basically it. Yeah, I just want to say like thank you so much for the support I've received from you guys and just like everyone. It's been really awesome to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people are very excited. How much do you anticipate this being used once it's fully built out? I'm not really a big ETH guy, but what's your feel there? Do you think there's going to be a lot of demand for it?
Yeah, I'm not totally sure. Like, I mean, ETH is pretty much the second biggest blockchain. So the Bitcoin XMR swap is pretty popular, I believe. So I think the ETH one will probably be hopefully at that level, but I'm not totally sure, to be honest.
Yeah, there's one thing that Monero is really lacking. It's the ability to participate kind of in DeFi type stuff. So make it easy for people to do that, right? Theoretically, because they'll just move over to Ethereum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it'll just be kind of really help people to swap between the two chains and just interact with both.
Awesome. How about with the fees? We always hear about how high Ethereum fees are. Can you give us any insight into that? I don't really follow Ethereum too much. Is that kind of a temporary issue? What's going on with that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so definitely there's been a lot of questions about the gas fees, and yeah, definitely they are high. Like the fees are extremely high at the moment. I think to deploy the contract, I calculated the other day, it was like $1 million gas, so it was like $300 or something to deploy, which is honestly just ridiculous. So there's a few optimizations that I have in mind. The first is just to deploy it on layer 2, so that there's just reduced gas. Then the others, there's contract optimizations we can do. Like ideally the contract will become like a factory contract, so we won't have to deploy it every time. Like I'll just deploy like one instance of it, and then people will just be able to call that, and it will hopefully be less expensive. So yeah, definitely don't want it to be that expensive for people in the end, because that's just way too much.
Right. So there's solutions being worked on with that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because we actually used Ethereum when we used MetaMask to get our unstoppable domain. And yeah, it ended up costing a lot of money.
Yeah, we were like, what?
They're like, here's your, because they gave us a domain, and like they're like, all you have to do is go on MetaMask and whatever. And like, yeah, the fees ended up being very high.
Yeah, I forget how much it was, but I remember us gasping.
I was like, whoa. Like, that was like when I was first like, oh wow, they weren't kidding. Fees are high in Ethereum. Oh my god. All right. Any potential interest in going down to Monerotopia? Are you going to be going down to Miami at all for like the Bitcoin stuff or anything?
Oh, I haven't really thought about it, but that might be cool. I don't think I'm doing it.
Please do. We'll be hitting you up. We're gonna be hounding you down. We're gonna try to get you to come down.
Awesome.
Maybe you'll want to do a talk. Maybe no pressure. We won't put you on the spot here, but that would be amazing.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. I'll consider it. Yeah.
Vic says has poly now, so gas fees are close to 0. Okay. Well, I guess we did that pre poly, or we did it wrong at the time.
That was our first time. So.
Yes, that was like 2 months ago. I don't know.
Summer.
All right, let's. So what do we got next? We got
the news segment.
Oh, let's jump into the news. Elizabeth, if you could stick around, can you stick around a little bit?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, because then we'll bring up other people from the community, and we could all chat together. Awesome. Let's quickly run through the news.
Ooh.
Oh wait, hold on. Hold on. Yeah.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Wait, was that laugh part of the?
No, I don't know. That was me. No, but I don't think that went live. I think it beats me.
All right. You want to bring up the links?
Yeah. I'm gonna share my screen, guys. Share.
What do we got? I don't even know what's coming up. What do we got?
We got this link. Cryptocurrencies could
destabilize nation states, says Hillary Clinton. All right. I don't know if anybody caught that. Yeah, Hillary. That's
yeah, Hilary.
You know, it sounds bad when you say it, when you put it that way, but that's kind of what the intent of crypto is. Not to destabilize, but to diffuse some of the power that they have, and give the power back to the people. So, yeah, crypto is working according to Hillary Clinton. What else we got?
I gotta share it individually, I guess. So it's not like, we got to share the file. Yeah, I have to do it like individually.
Okay, next time I will bring them all up beforehand. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Next one is Kraken to delist Monero. So yeah, we'll talk about this, guys, when we bring everybody up. You know, we all knew these types of things were bound to happen. We've seen it happen before. Why they're doing it, we don't really know. There's no reason that we know of as to why Monero can't be listed on exchanges. We had that Perkins Coie paper. Monero doesn't violate anything that any other crypto does. I mean, there's no reason why exchanges can't list Monero. I guess the idea is here, or what they're saying is that Kraken's banking partner, I guess, forced them to delist it because they see Monero as a risk. But we got Articmine, I think, and Arctic explains it really well as to why, you know, if anything, perhaps there's less risk with Monero in terms of the regulations that need to be followed. But it's unfortunate. We're seeing this. I don't know if we've peaked now in the amount of exchanges that are going to delist, and we'll start to see exchanges adding Monero. Who knows what's going to happen? What we do know is ultimately none of it really matters because the true way to use crypto and Monero in particular is peer-to-peer. So Monero is just under the gun. It always has been, and it's just forcing us to evolve faster than other cryptos in that regard to being truly decentralized. Hence, we have people like Elizabeth coming out of nowhere building Ethereum to Monero atomic swaps. And these things are getting done out of necessity, out of need. They're not just purely experimental. It's because the community is being forced to figure out how to essentially stay alive and be able to interact with other chains without having to go through centralized systems. And the bridges have been built. They're really small at this point. They're simple, but they're built. We know and we know they're just going to get larger, and there's going to be more of them. It's not just going to be atomic swaps. There's going to be, you know, things like Thorchain. I mean, there's a ton of solutions coming down the pipe. So while this sounds like sad news on the face, like a fungible said, perhaps it's actually good news. What else we got?
Does it change it?
Why Monero could be better than Bitcoin, and that was the Motley Fool. So that was kind of cool because I think they're big. Can you click on their video?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, open up click there. They have like tons of subscribers, but they did a video on Monero. What I don't get though is they have, scroll down, how many subscribers they have? Like, if you can see on their channel, I don't know, it's like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, but that video only got a few hundred views, which is really weird. And when you search their YouTube channel and you like sort by video, I don't even see it in their videos, so it's kind of weird. But their video was good, and they highlighted, you know, it wasn't one of these discussions of Monero where they didn't know what they were talking about. They highlighted the important factors. They kind of quoted the Daniel Kim line that Monero is what Bitcoin noobs thought they bought. They talked about the fact that it's fungible and private. And yeah, encouraging to see that kind of going mainstream in a way. And these are people that are talking about investments. They're talking about from an investment standpoint. I think they also highlighted some other. Oh, I think they highlighted the tail emission as well. I don't think they spoke about dynamic block sizes, but they got into some of the other aspects of Monero, which was nice to see too. And they saw this as advantages in comparison to Bitcoin. Yeah, they talked about the tail emission and how it's going to allow miners to continue to mine and secure the network. Like, you don't really often hear other than us talking about it all the time, but outside of the Monero community. So that's encouraging to see. Like, people are getting it. Obviously, the privacy and the fungibility aspects, and then the old line. Well, maybe Bitcoin will be the store of value and Monero will be the transactional currency, which is kind of ironic because they're literally saying it's a good investment. So that means it's going to be a good store of value. Like this whole thing of Bitcoin being the store of value and Monero being, like, I get it. That's like what we're trying to do to trick the Bitcoiners. But it's okay, guys. I think we could be okay with the fact that Monero can also be a store of value, and there's arguments as to why it potentially, I don't know, could match Bitcoin's ability to store value, seeing that it has it's the same same basic technology, and if anything, it has some features that might allow it to store value even better. That it could act like digital gold because it's actually fungible. Gold is fungible. But we don't need to repeat that over and over again. But we could talk about that when everybody's up, because I'm kind of like, it's okay. I think the Monero community, or those that want to, can speak out and say, yes, Monero can be used as a store of value too. Not saying we all have, say what you believe, but that's what I believe, and I'm not intimidated by the Bitcoiners who say otherwise, and anybody else who has that on their mind and thinks so. I wouldn't hesitate to say those things if you truly believe it. Was that it? Did we have
one more link?
Okay. Oh, the Slate article.
Ooh.
The Slate article. This guy really, what's this guy's name? I can't read.
Jake Dean.
Jake Dean. I actually found him. Somebody found him, messaged me, and I hit him up on Twitter. Was trying to get him on Monero Talk. He didn't respond. But he really took a bashing to Monero. He explained, once again, he got a lot of the technicals correct, which is cool to see. He even talked about Bitcoin to Monero atomic swaps. So, like, the news is out there. This is amazing that people are talking about Monero in this way. It's unfortunate that they're talking about all the negative use cases that Monero comes with, and kind of casting Monero as a tool for nefarious things, and kind of drawing the conclusion like, oh well, Monero can be used for good and bad, but since it can be used for so much bad, we should be very cautious of it, and kind of comparing it to encryption as they say that, which I think is quite ridiculous, because we all think encryption overall is a good thing, right? It's, yes, could it be, people can use it for good and bad, but it's a tool that we want. So yeah, it got a lot of people. Even when I retweeted, I tweeted the article. People were like, "Why'd you do that? Don't give it attention." I think it's fine, man. The word is out. Let people read it. And those that are smart enough will read between the lines. People are saying, but you shouldn't have given it clicks or whatever. Whatever. Give it clicks. Give it engagement. Nobody reads them. Justin's comment on the article got more engagement than the actual article. There you go. And yeah, even if they do, it's good. I mean, this is how I learned about Bitcoin. I didn't learn about it by reading some article saying how Bitcoin was the most amazing thing in the world. I read an article saying, like, there's this thing, nobody knows what it is, and it's being used on the dark market. And I was like, that's interesting. And they're like, oh, what are we going to do? We're going to have to regulate. We're going to have to get rid of it. Interesting. Why are they trying to do that? So sure, if you're not a deep thinker and you read this, yeah, but I don't know if we're really looking for those people right now. Let's look for, let's get the people on board that are going to take the time to look at this, read between the lines, and then do the research and realize why Monero is being adopted for these nefarious purposes. It's because it works for its intended purpose. All right. I think that includes the news segment.
Ooh.
Want to bring everybody up?
Sure. Hold on.
Here we go, guys.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
These segments. We need more segments, because the segments are the best part. These segment interests. All right, we got Francisco up. All right.
Hello.
Got people coming up. All right.
Hello.
Elias?
Elias, how's it
Elizabeth's
going?
still up.
Elizabeth's
Okay.
still on, and I'll put the link for anyone else that wants to join.
Let's jump to Francisco.
Hello, Francisco. How do you do?
Articmine.
Hello.
How's it going? So, go ahead. You want to say something?
No, I'm doing good. I've just been very busy with some of the policy work and also with the kind of the scaling work is pretty much done, but there's a lot of follow up, commentary and so on that's going on. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
What do you think of the Kraken delisting in Europe?
I would say that what happened in the UK is the same as what happened in Australia. It's a very similar pattern to what happened in South Korea and to what happened in Japan. And the behind-the-scenes players in all of this are the blockchain surveillance companies or chain analytics companies. And they're the ones that are behind the scenes pushing this kind of stuff. That's why you see a situation where if you actually read the regulations, there's nothing in the regulation that says that Monero can't be used. What a Monero breaks is not anti-money laundering or counter-terrorist financing. That's not what Monero breaks. Monero breaks what I would call surveillance theater, or basically the business models of the chain analysis companies. And that's the problem. This is why we're seeing these pressures on exchanges. And I think we need to recognize what the real threat is. And it's a lot more serious than people realize. It's not the government per se. It's not the regulators, not even the Financial Action Task Force. It's the behind-the-scenes lobbying against Monero by these companies, because quite honestly, if Monero were to flip Bitcoin, these guys would go out of business.
That's a very amazing way to put it. So you think they're the ones putting the pressure on the banks?
Well, absolutely. And typically what happened in Australia, and I haven't really looked into the UK situation. Remember Australia, they went after a mid player. So a payment processor, those handling payments between the exchanges and the banks. That's what happened in Australia. And you could see that there was an actual deal made between Chainalysis and a bunch of these intermediaries, and then like 3 weeks later, Monero got delisted. So yeah. So that's what happened in Australia.
Yep. So I guess the only way this is going to change, like I said, if we care that it changes, right? Because I don't know, we're trying to move away from exchanges, but let's say we do because we want more liquidity, we want people to be able to easily access Monero. How do we help bring about that change? How do we kind of fight against this narrative? What's going on? Is it just that it needs to get to the point where banks, just basically just a money issue at the end of the day, where banks make a decision and like, all right, we don't want to delist because we're making more money. Exchanges are making more money when they have Monero listed. Like, doesn't that kick in at some point where they're going to want to keep Monero because they make money off exchanges?
I think the problem, there's a different strategy. I've looked at this particularly on the policy group. And I'll give you an example. I mean, the Financial Action Task Force released guidance, and just in the last couple of weeks. And what they said in this guidance is that chain analysis or blockchain surveillance, I could call it blockchain surveillance because that's really what it is, actually doesn't work. It implied it. I mean, they basically said that they went out and they got statistics from a whole different set of chain analysis companies to get average numbers on what was the prevalence of money laundering on various blockchains. And the average numbers, and we're talking averaging tens of millions of transactions here, the average numbers were totally all over the place. So basically, if they can't even get the averages right on a chain like Bitcoin, for example, and I'm talking averages over tens of millions of transactions, how on earth can they even get individual transactions right? So the first narrative is this stuff doesn't work on Bitcoin. It certainly doesn't work on Ethereum. I mean, just the growth in transaction numbers. And this is the key narrative that I think needs to be put out. Because what they're literally, I go as far as saying that some of these people are basically taking the regulators for a ride. Because basically they're telling them we can do this and they can't really do it. We can detect dirty money on the Bitcoin blockchain. And when it comes to individual transactions, and in particular leaving exchanges, I don't believe they can do any. level of reliability. So this is part of the problem. Along comes Monero and kind of makes the reality obvious by just making it totally impossible. And so it's kind of like shooting the messenger in many ways. They'd rather shoot the messenger than accept that they're being duped. I mean, to many degrees, I mean, one could argue that the regulators are being duped. So I've taken a very hard line on this issue. And I think the evidence is coming along that these guys have serious problems. They're charging all this money for this, and they're going to say, okay, what, deliver the goods. And I'm not talking Bitcoin. I'm not talking Monero here. I'm talking Bitcoin. And I think this is where the problem is. I personally think we should have a mix of exchanges and decentralized systems, and the more variety, the better. I mean, the people that want to use AML KYC exchanges, and quite realistically, if it weren't for this nonsense of this blockchain surveillance, Monero will work really well in that environment because you have the privacy on the blockchain after you withdraw from an exchange, just like going to a bank and withdrawing cash. It's no different.
Yeah, it's the most ideal crypto to buy on an exchange, if you think of it along those lines, right? It's like if you're trying to get into crypto, and you're not going to be using these decentralized means, you kind of use a traditional centralized exchange. The best way to do it, in my opinion, would be cash, fiat, whatever, your bank connected. You buy Monero, and then you pull it off the exchange, and then from there you can go out into crypto world. That's probably the best way to do it without
absolutely. I mean, so the idea would be you buy Monero for fiat, and then you want to buy Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash or something.
Right.
I mean, so that's what I'm saying. But the problem here is that you've got this narrative that you can engage in this surveillance on the blockchains and somehow provide reliable data to regulators and to law enforcement and on a broad-based scale, not on some very specific targeted investigation. Yes, maybe that can work. But I'm talking about on a broad-based anti-money laundering, counterterrorism, finance, and scale. This stuff simply does not work. And the onus has to be on the companies that are selling this to prove that it works, because they're the ones that are charging the money, as opposed to everybody else who's saying, people have been accused or could be falsely accused of very serious crimes here.
Yeah, and then on the other problem is and then they're also reaching out to the regulators and governments and lobbying them, I imagine, right? So that laws are passed that will continue to benefit these tracing companies.
Absolutely. This is exactly the problem. Right. And this is one of the things that I have seen, for example, for us in the Monero Policy Group. We had to actually fight this and provide a different narrative. I say, wait a minute, you're not getting real data here, and put some questions. And to be fair, I mean, I have to give a lot of credit to FinCEN and to the U.S. government on this, because they're coming to the realization that wait a minute, we can't really rely on this stuff. And they basically said in the recent regulations, this stuff doesn't really work with it. There's all sorts of risks and so on and so forth. We have the Financial Action Task Force and the latest guidance saying it may work. So I think there's been considerable progress, definitely in the last year. And quite honestly, I think we're having an impact, if I was to be honest about this. Coupled with the realization, say, wait a minute, take a look at this stuff. Does it really work? Get your own data. Do your own research on this. I'm not saying just listen to us. I'm saying do your own research. Figure out, does this stuff really give you reliable information? Then you can act upon for the law enforcement objectives. Because basically, in my opinion, they don't. There's a lot of questions. That's the bottom line. In the meantime, we're caught in the crossfire.
Yep. One more question that I'm going to let everybody else jump into.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to see more of this? Will we see Kraken in the United States potentially moving in this direction? Do you have any opinion there?
I don't have that. I mean, I think it's a risk because basically, if they want to keep this narrative of blockchain surveillance as an anti-money laundering tool, Monero is public enemy number one. And that's the reality. If you accept the fact we're going to treat cryptocurrency as cash, and we're going to I'm going to deal from a money laundering perspective and terrorist finance perspective, same as for cash, then of course you don't have a problem. Then Monero is actually safer than the other ones. So the issue here is you want to push this narrative that you could do blockchain surveillance to fight money laundering. Then yeah, we're going to have a fight on our hands. But what we have on our side, and this is what I would say, is that the stuff doesn't really work on Bitcoin. But that narrative hasn't really got through to the regulators, to the exchanges, and to bodies like a Financial Action Task Force.
Right.
And that's, I think, a problem.
Yep. All right. That all makes sense. Let's jump around. Let's jump around here to other people. Elias.
Hi. Welcome.
Hi. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for coming on.
All right.
How's
Great.
it going?
It's going good. Thanks. Thanks for having this. It's really a great thing that anyone can jump in like this.
Yeah, we try to keep it as open as possible. As long as you're not spamming and you're somewhat on topic, you're welcome to stay on stage.
In the spirit of free speech, right?
Exactly.
So I sent you an email. Did you get that?
Oh, okay. Yes.
A couple of nights, I was sitting up late at night and I wrote all these things.
Very long email.
Yeah, very long email.
All right. So I'm not going to recite this long email, but I was thinking I could bring up this quickly.
Sure.
A couple of those things. It's okay.
Yeah.
So the first thing I've been thinking, well, maybe I should just quickly explain that. For me, I'm very interested in this topic of what Monero is and so on. From a sort of principle perspective, I didn't buy any cryptocurrencies or anything, but I see it as an important part of movement for a decentralized internet and to have freedom from surveillance and so on, because that's a huge problem in society now and it's getting worse. So therefore, I think it's very important. And then when I'm seeing how it works and how you guys talk about things and so on, then there's one thing that I want to ask you about, and perhaps I have an opinion about it, and I would like to hear what you say about it. And that is that I think that people working around Monero should try to be more aware of sort of the larger movement around free software and censorship resistance and so on. For example, you use YouTube, Google a lot. You use Twitter. These things can be shut down easily, right? So you're relying on single central sources for your communication. Yeah. So I really think that you should embrace the alternatives that exist and try to show that they exist. I understand that you feel, of course, you want to reach a lot of people, and that brings you onto those platforms. That's how it always is. Yeah. But you can at least try to show what exists. You see my point?
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. We could do a better job at that, pointing out the other tech. I mean, we use these technologies for the reason you said, because we want to get out to people beyond the Monero community, right? So these people that aren't aware of these things, and the only way to get to them is through the traditional platforms. We also use library.
Yeah, Odyssey.
So all our YouTube videos also simultaneously stream on Odyssey and are saved there as well.
Great.
Yes.
But look at me, I wasn't even aware. So you should say that so that people can find it, because I don't want to go on YouTube. I've been listening to you as a podcast, so I just so it's great that you have it in that way as well.
Yeah, it automatically streams it there. I don't know if it's streaming there live now. I'm assuming,
but it automatically posts it there.
It automatically posts.
But yeah, we should make that more obvious. I think we say it.
Yeah, we say it on Twitter, I guess, and on Reddit. Actually, I post the link on Reddit too.
But
I give everyone the option.
Your general point is very good. We could do a better job at least letting people know that, there's flaws here with these tools, and they're contradictory to what we stand for, which is why we're so big into Monero. But I will say too, we're very much, we're noobish in a lot of ways, right? So we love Monero, we love crypto. And what's so great about Monero is you can be a noob and you can completely benefit from it. It's very easy to benefit from what it offers, right? Because it's private by default. As long as you do simple things like hold your own keys and, use a self-hosted wallet, you're pretty good to go. Now, do I have terrible OPSEC otherwise? 100%. I mean, I'm out here talking about Monero every day. That's all shot. But what's so amazing about Monero is I could be that person, right? I could be this guy with horrible OPSEC. I'm out here. I'm basically like a public figure. I'm using Google. People, I don't know who I am, might even know where I live. I hope not. But when I go and use my Monero, it still works like cash. So at least that element of me is protected. And I think that's awesome. That's an awesome feeling, right? I can literally be out there in the open. People know who I am, but I can privately transact. So at least I have that power over my money. But I do hear all your points, and we could do a better job at promoting those. There's others in the community that do an amazing job of that. Set for Privacy. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He really does a great job at pointing out all these other privacy preserving technologies. And maybe we'll have him on again soon. But I recommend you follow him and follow his stuff. But yeah, we could certainly learn from him. But good points, man. Can't disagree with you.
Is it all right if I bring up a second point as well?
Yes. And then we'll try to pass it around to some other people on stage.
Because this other point, I think it's an important one also, and it's something that I've been listening to, not all of your shows, but quite a lot of them, and this point is missing for me, and it's, at least for me, and I think for many others, is an important one. And it's this, and especially when I listen to the discussion about cryptocurrencies in the society elsewhere, then this is a huge point. And a lot of people are thinking that cryptocurrencies are bad because they are bad for the climate, because the proof of work algorithm leads to a huge waste of resources. So this is a big argument out there, and I haven't heard your take on it, so to speak. So I would like to hear what is your answer to that, and also especially from Elizabeth and also Articmine, I guess, who knows a lot about how things work technically. Why is it so hard? Perhaps this is too big a question right now, but for me, the way that I think it should work is if I connect my computer to help out with the verifying transactions, then the way it is now is that my computer will be constantly crunching numbers, right? It will use all my CPU power for this all the time. But what I would like is to connect to the network so that I'm available. I signal that I'm available as a resource to check transactions, but I only kick in. My computer is only really used crunching all those numbers when it's needed. So when there is an attack going on, then of course it's important to have a lot of compute power to defeat that. But what happens every day normally is that everyone is running the same, verifying the same things, and there is no contradiction anywhere. So it's a waste. At least that's my, I have a sort of I think I have only a rough understanding of the proof of work thing. But anyway, I don't know if you see what I'm getting at here.
Yeah, so this is brought up once in a while on the show. We talk to people about it. I haven't done a show on it, and perhaps I should. I could find a good guest that can really kind of get into the weeds on why proof of work.
Hey, Doug,
a necessary thing. Yeah,
I can offer kind of a very simple breakdown of that. Proof of work is a competitive environment, right? Proof of stake just rewards people that are already have a large amount of capital or stake or percentage of the tokens. Therefore, even with all the money in the world, if you want to mine Bitcoin or want to mine Monero, you still need to put in, one, the actual hardware. Two, you need to put in physical work, computing work, which means that even if you had unlimited, money printing abilities, you cannot just completely co-opt a system if you require a certain amount of proof of work, right? So that's the idea. Proof of work is a lot more equal opportunity when it comes to people partaking in the system. And I believe that's honestly why a lot of large institutions do not like it. See, you're seeing the politicization of a lot of these environments where they're saying that, for example, proof of work is bad for the environment, but it is by key players that have a vested interest in proof of stake, or, for example, creating their own version, because they cannot compete with a lot of these proof of work, even with Bitcoin that's full of ASIC miners and things like that, they can't just jump in and become integral in that system, right? So I think that's why proof of stake is being pushed heavily. I still think that proof of work has merit in being the most honest way of initial distribution that somebody with a lot of money cannot just co-op.
Yeah, and also great points, Crypt0bear, and also the most permissionless way, which you kind of touched upon, especially with RandomX. So anybody with a computer anywhere has CPU power, has access to electricity, can, without permission, start, being a part of the network and mining Monero. They don't even need money to do it, right? So it's perhaps the most egalitarian way to allow people to participate. I also think it's it's what solved the Byzantine generals problem, right? Was this proof of work is essentially what allows these computers to come to a consensus on what's stated in a ledger. So I'm not convinced that these other solutions really provide that. Articmine, you want to chime in there on that question? And Elizabeth, I don't know, Elizabeth, you want to
Sure.
go? Artic, go ahead.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of different issues here. I mean, the environmental problem question, to my mind, to a very large degree, is are we pricing energy correctly? And if we're not pricing energy correctly, we're subsidizing coal, for example, and we're subsidizing fossil fuels by not factoring in the environmental externalities. Then, of course, you can shoot the messenger by saying that the proof of work network is bad for the environment. I know it sounds very simplistic, but I would start by saying if you can profitably mine Bitcoin or Monero by burning coal, then the issue is that the tax on the carbon dioxide, i.e. what people call a carbon tax, is way too low or non-existent because it's not truly pricing in the cost to the planet of burning that coal. The issue you get in here with energy is how do you generate it, and I would argue very strongly for solar in this kind of solar photovoltaic, especially if you want decentralization, because you don't need electricity, you need sunlight. And so if you have access to sunlight, then you can mine your money. You don't have to get permission from anybody. And this is a bit of an issue because let's say you put a solar array up and you got access solar power. And honestly, I'm actually looking at doing this myself in my own home. And I say, well, who can I sell it to? I've got this extra renewable energy. The local utility is going to pay me very little, even though I live in a major metropolitan center and a major source of consumption. So I got to find somebody else who's going to buy that renewable energy from me. And actually turns out it's going to be the Monero network. They can pay me more than the utility will for solar panels that I put on my roof. Because if I use more power, I generate more power than I actually need. So I think the issue of that's the second one. The third one is the question of scaling. How many transactions are you processing per watt of energy that you kilowatt hour or whatever of electricity you're producing? Now, if you've got a restricted block size, like in the case of Bitcoin, then the energy cost per transaction is sky high. If you allow the thing to scale, like in the case of Monero, then you can lower the cost per transaction in energy. So there's a whole bunch of different factors. Then you get the third one, which is kind of where my handle came from, Articmine, and I started with this, is that you basically are living in minus 40 weather or something, or minus 30 weather, minus 40 C and F are the same, by the way. So Celsius or Fahrenheit, the scales meet at minus 40. Well, if you're in that kind of temperature, you want the heat from your mining is extremely valuable. If you're sitting in Texas at 108 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius, the heat is a major waste product. So again, the question is the heat valuable or is it a waste product? Depends on where you do the mining. So there's a lot of variables in this. I mean, I think proof of work can be made environmentally sound. A, by pricing energy properly. B, by using waste heat, by mining in places where heat actually has value, like for space heating, for example. And there's a lot of cases where electricity can be effectively used in that way. And also by using excess renewable energy, particularly wind and solar, where you're going to have more at certain points in time. You're going to have excess capacity that you could literally have a ready-waiting customer that's going to pay for that energy, which otherwise is going to go to waste. I mean, you even have cases that, in Ontario, they have this problem. You're running a nuclear power plant, and you have excess electricity at night that you don't have anything to do with. They have to just heat a lake to get rid of the heat. So there's markets for this type of scenario. So that's where I think proof of work could actually be compatible.
Those energy markets, by the way, completely, I think, offer a logical alternative.
Nope.
Sorry?
I don't know what happened.
I don't know.
That was Crypt0bear, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ark. You want to finish the point, and then let's jump to Elizabeth.
Well, I think Crypt0bear was saying there's another market that, I think what Crypt0bear is trying to get at is that there are basically markets out there for energy that we're not really looking at the whole picture. I mean, we're using electricity, otherwise we'll go to waste or have very little value. And I suspect that a lot of proof of work mining, that's exactly what's happening, because you're going for the cheapest source of electricity everywhere. And with renewables in particular, you're going to have a lot of electricity that is simply at the wrong place at the wrong time. And having a market for that electricity will make renewable projects such as solar and wind in particular economically viable. So proof of work can actually make a lot of renewable energy viable. That kind of be the main point that I would make.
Right, it's driving that market.
It's supporting it.
Yep. Elizabeth, you want to jump in? You have any comments on this? Especially coming from Ethereum, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I definitely agree with what Articmine said. I think the issue is definitely where the electricity comes from. Like if it came from renewable sources, like it's not an issue. Like if it was used for heating somewhere cold, like it's definitely like not really an issue in my opinion. And like also people are saying in the comments, like there's so many other industries that use up like a lot more energy. So I think it's sort of a bit of like a weak-ish argument, but I'm definitely not anti-proof of stake. Like I think both have their pros and cons. Like you said, proof of work is just somewhat lower barrier to entry. Like you just need the hardware. There's not all proof of stake algorithms require you to have like a ridiculous amount of the currency or the fuel or whatever. There's some that have lower barriers to entry. Like for example, the Polkadot network allows people to nominate with like a pretty low amount of DOT in my opinion. It really depends on like kind of the algorithm. Overall I guess pros and cons of both.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Crypt0bear, are you back with us?
Hello? Crypt0bear? No, I think he's having issues.
Okay.
With his...
guys,
so if you could still hear me.
Yeah. Yes, we can. Yep. Or, okay, he signed off.
I think he's just delayed. I don't know. So when we still have Elizabeth with us, anybody else want to chime in and maybe ask her any questions about the Ethereum to XMR swaps? Or anybody on stage want to ask a question? I know Crypt0bear probably did, because this is a project I think he was trying to spearhead at one point. So unfortunately he's dropped out.
I think he's having issues with
also, anybody else that wants to jump up on stage, now would be the time.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. See if anyone wants to jump on. Come on down, everyone. I guess not.
We should say Arctic will be speaking at Monerotopia, right? Yes. Is that fair to say? Can we confirm you here?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you certainly can.
Awesome. Okay, awesome. Any idea what you'll be speaking about? I think you said you had to wait a little bit, right, to determine.
Well, from a broad sense, I'm going to be talking about scaling. I'm going to be talking about fee impacts, and I'm going to be talking about some of the ramifications of coins like Bitcoin. And unfortunately, one of the things about this, of course, is that when you talk about Monero scaling, you kind of have some not the best news for the rest, everybody else in some ways. But what I reason want to hold back is until the hard fork is finalized, because I will be talking about some of the changes that are going into the hard fork and some of the rationale behind it. And so I wanted just to make sure that, what are the dates for that and so on. So that was the main reason that I wanted to hold back a bit on that. But essentially, that's a broad topic I'll be looking at. There are a lot of other factors, because, as spam comes into the picture, one of the issues, of course, you get into with a censorship-resistant or censorship-preventing network, of course, is that you really have to ask the question of spam. How do you deal with spam? Because you can't censor it away. So that's an issue that I was looking at revisiting. I spoke a bit of that in 2019 at the Conferenco in Denver, And it's, I think, an issue that's worth looking at again because of the fact that of the changes that are happening. So
Awesome.
that's kind of the frame that I'm looking at right now. But like I said, I wanted just to wait until the sort of the finalization of hot fork.
Super excited to have you as a confirmed guest.
Yeah, so that's basically the plan.
Awesome. Guys, maybe we'll close it out. If anybody else on stage want to say anything, and if anybody that's not on stage now, if you want to jump on, now is your moment before we close it out. Elias, thanks for coming on, and anything you want to mention before we close things out?
Oh, just maybe just to, yeah, I just want to thank everyone for the answers about my question there. I think it was really great, and I still think that if you were to do a show on that topic, I think it would be useful, because I think there are other people like me who would look for that episode. You know, it should be seen in the title that is about that issue, because it is. I mean, I think there are different communities, and in some, I think, large part of society, it's a really big deal, and many people are actually, in their mind, they are sure that cryptocurrency is bad for the climate, and therefore they're already decided, and they will not look into it further, you know.
Yes.
So I would like to send them, you know, here is the information for you.
I think it'd be really good to have a show on that. And then I also want to throw out there that there is political implications for central bank currencies also being bad for the environment. I mean, if you look at the history of war, and especially in the last 200 years, the context of most wars were heavily financed by banking systems that might have, you know, funded both sides at some point. So I think that there's a lot of political push for creating this narrative that cryptocurrencies are bad for the environment. But a lot of times the people who are driving this narrative are personally flying out in personal jets to meet with other people that flew out in personal jets whose carbon footprint is way higher than the individuals that are, you know, under target for these narratives, right? So I think that there is a lot of merit for renewable resources and things like that. And you can actually make the argument that renewable resources take away a large part of the climate impact of cryptocurrencies. But at the root of it, I believe that it's a straw man argument to paint cryptocurrencies as bad for the environment, because the reality are cryptocurrencies are bad for the banking system. And that's something that people cannot attack head on. So I think that being able to distance which one is which argument, I think is important in the greater scheme of things, because we've, you know, when I hear that the biggest proponents of what is bad for the environment when it comes to cryptocurrencies are central banks, you tend to forget that, well, yeah, but are cryptocurrencies bad for central banks? And is that a vested party? You know, if I go to a gym, they're going to, you know, or if I go to a fast food restaurant, they're not going to want me to go to a gym. Why? Because it's bad for their business, you know? So I think that'd be an awesome conversation to have, because there's, you know, bigger implications into the actual economics behind why saying something is good or bad for the environment might benefit those groups too.
Yeah, it's an entire cost-benefit analysis, and the benefits, in my mind, far outweigh the costs. I mean, the internet uses a lot of energy. Computers use a lot of energy. Nobody's out here saying the internet and computers use too much energy, right? Because we all, it's very obvious what the benefits are. Perhaps with crypto, those benefits aren't as obvious to people. I think they're obvious to everybody here. We understand the dire need for something like Monero that's going to provide digital cash, but it's not as obvious to everybody, and people wonder why energy needs to be burnt to provide it.
Arctic, did you have a comment?
Oh, yes, I did. There's a lot of things that we can look at that are incredibly wasteful. I mean, one of my biggest ones that I've seen is the whole idea of throwing away perfectly good electronics on a worldwide basis just because of what are called DRM, or technological protection measures, and proprietary software. I mean, it goes back to Elias's previous comment that if you really want to lower your carbon footprint, the first thing you should be looking at is proprietary software, which is a very odd application to free software. But what I'm referring to is if you look at how much e-waste is produced, and for example, in the case of China, it's about 50% of their emissions is producing electronics that are then thrown out in the West like 6 months later.
Right, and with random X, we overcome that issue a little bit.
We definitely
chooses ASICs.
We definitely do it with ASICs, but I'm talking about things like, for example, cell phones. I mean, people buy a cell phone.
Cell phones are very wasteful for the environment, but I think a lot of the key players like Apple do not get, put in the limelight for saying you're destroying the environment. So that's why I get very defensive when it comes to, if you're using an argument for some things but not others, then you might be a vested party, right? So that's where, some of that lack of understanding of, well, if you're using it against cryptocurrencies, why are we not using this against televisions? Why are we not using against, literally everything else? Why is it such a specific thing about, the implications? And then I think on base layer 1 for Bitcoin, especially since it moved to a lot of store of value narratives, if you move to layer 2 with Lightning Network and things like that, it increases the transaction throughput. So per transaction, there's less energy usage and things like that. So I think it's almost disingenuous to say, look, it's using a ton of electricity, when the reality is some of the cleanest electricity is the cheapest. And that's kind of where, if you're arguing for or against it, you need to realize, are you arguing the merit logic behind it's bad for the environment, or are you arguing that it being bad for the environment would potentially negate any benefit that it has to humankind, right? There's always a cost benefit, and I think that people are trying to skew the field so that they can argue on arguments that never were initially supposed to be the target of those arguments, right? So if you can argue that cryptocurrencies are bad for the environment, you have people who traditionally would have been very strong proponents of cryptocurrencies for the social implications, but now are going to fight them because they disagree with the the environmental impact portion, right?
Yep. Yeah, go ahead, Howard.
I was basically saying, the example of Apple is a perfect example of a business model that's incredibly environmentally destructive. And the reason is because they make their devices so they can only be used with special software. If you want to get anything else that they haven't approved, then you have to get another device. And this is the problem I was referring to. So, for example, there was a very interesting case in 2014 where Apple was censoring Bitcoin. They censored Bitcoin from 2009 all the way to 2014. And a fellow on Reddit went and said, okay, if you destroy publicly your iPhone, I'll give you a free Android device. And there were some very interesting videos, including one guy who literally took the thing to a shooting range and shot the iPhone to smithereens with a high-powered rifle. But my point is that the lockdowns and the control over the device that a company like Apple does forces people to throw these devices out because they no longer meet their functionality, which can simply be done by changing the software. And so you're throwing out the hardware because of the control over the software. And this is what I was getting at. So with same thing with Microsoft. If you buy a new computer, the license Windows for, say, $30 or something, it's hidden. But if you just put Windows on an existing computer, the same license will cost you $200. So you have these incentives to create e-waste, which are driven by the software industry. The movie industry is particularly bad. They've obsoleted television sets and players, and just because of DRM, just because someone's broken the DRM, they can copy the movie. So now they throw out all these television sets and cables and so on. So you have a huge environmental disaster through e-waste driven by proprietary software, DRM, and intellectual property claims. And this is going to the wealthiest corporations. Like Amazon, they made their billions that way. Motion Picture Association of America, companies like Microsoft. This kind of control over devices has led to this massive e-waste. You can't fix stuff. Essentially, you can't even fix brand new appliances. You buy a new refrigerator, and the motherboards are proprietary, so expensive, so cheap it used to throw it out and get a new one. If you had a 40-year-old refrigerator, you could keep repairing it, and so you don't have the e-waste and the carbon footprint associated with it. So it's huge in that area.
Yeah, and once again, I think it is important for people to realize random X is unique in that it allows Monero to be CPU mined. In the most efficient way to mine Monero is essentially with the CPU, and because of that, it's going to create less e-waste because there's not going to be hardware that's specifically created only for the purposes of mining Monero. So when you're mining Monero, you can use use your phone when you're not mining Monero. You can just, use your phone like you normally would, and that's a big deal, and it applies to all these products too that Arctic is talking about, right? These things that basically lose use over time could potentially be used to mine Monero, right, Arctic? Like, I mean,
well, but you have to break the DRM. See, here's the problem. In the United States, this is like a major criminal offense. There's a law being enforced. So in order to say take an iPhone and repurpose it to mining Monero, you have to break the technological protection measures. And that is a law. That's against the law in the United States. That's just a serious felony. In other parts of the world, in some other countries, it's illegal to actually break technological protection measures with certain exemptions. So you can't repurpose devices. So if you have, for example, you could take the processors in an iPhone, for example, is no longer useful as an iPhone, and repurpose it for mining cryptocurrency. Absolutely. But you'd have to break the DRM that Apple put in there to repurpose that device. And in order to do that, you're breaking the law. And in fact, it's a serious felony in the United States. And that's the problem. And so you have this the industry, which is basically the copyright industry, pushing this. So going back to Elias's point about free software, one way to lower your carbon footprint is to simply say no to proprietary software, because then you've sidestepped this entire problem. I mean, I know how it sounds. It's extremely radical, but that's the reality, that you can't repurpose devices. Now, yes, an ASIC mining in Bitcoin, because it's so specialized, is more of an e-waste problem than, say, a general purpose CPU. But if it's locked down with technological protection measures or DRM, and you can't repurpose it, then it's no good either. I mean, you can't mine Monero on it, not because the thing's not capable, because it's been locked up, and breaking that lock is illegal.
Right.
So,
Crypt0bear, do you want to bring?
Yeah, I know that I missed part of the talk about the atomic swaps and the connection with Spotty. So now that's a little bit more stable. I don't know if you guys wanted to bring any of that up or have a conversation on that.
Yeah, give you the chance. I mean, we went over it with Elizabeth, but I don't know if there's anything you wanted to ask her or bring up, seeing that you were a big proponent of this, trying to create Ethereum to Monero atomic swaps.
I'll just start it off with, I know a lot of the community is very apprehensive about transaction fees and things like that. And I think Ethereum gets a lot of flack for how high fees can be, especially with ERC20s, for example. Or it's not just a simple transaction. You're interacting with a contract, and it's the storage portion of storing something on the smart contract platform that tends to get very expensive, right? So in a lot of these contracts, you're storing your address on there, and then you're saying my address actually has 10 tokens, and I'm sending 10 of these to this other address. So you're interacting and saving a lot of information on there. So I think I'm very optimistic with, as expensive as the initial swaps could be, once we optimize a lot further, it's going to be a lot cheaper. And two, Ethereum has a lot of liquidity. I know everybody was excited about the Bitcoin atomic swaps, but the reality is Ethereum has become the go-to due to DeFi for liquidity provisioning, and a lot of projects being built on top of Ethereum means if you can interact with those protocols, you're enabling a ton of money to want to interact with Monero. And I think eventually this allows the establishment of a lot of new exchanges that people are already used to, and people become incentivized to say, hey, I want to provide liquidity to an atomic swap for Monero. Even if they're not interested in Monero as a currency, they might be interested in some of the tokens or rewards associated with providing liquidity to a swap.
All good points. Elizabeth, you have any response to that? Obviously, I assume you agree with those things.
Yeah, totally. I definitely agree. I think there's, like gas is definitely a barrier, but I think we can overcome it, and there's ways around it. And yeah, like Crypt0bear said, just like ETH has so many great projects on it, like all the DeFi stuff's happening there. Like it'll just be really great to bridge like the best privacy coin and like the leading DeFi chain together. I think that'll be really awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Crypt0bear, any questions you want to bring up to Elizabeth before we close it out?
I was just going to say for everyone that there is a bounty up. I was actually there's the bounty up, so everybody make sure to check it out and all that stuff. And then Yeah, I was just super surprised whenever I saw the atomic swap proposal floating, or the GitHub repo, right? I saw it pop up on my Twitter and from somebody sharing it, and I was like, what is this? Because I had done some of that work on there, and I definitely got stuck around some of the adapter signature stuff and everything. So seeing a proposal that basically was usable and proof of concept without that and out of the blue, I was like, what? This is crazy. So yeah, I'm super excited, and super excited to see a working like, you know, live net. And I think that's really major for the community for sure. So seriously, big props for that.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, we'll post it one more time. You want to throw the link in there one more time of the bounty? Encourage people to contribute to that so we can move the project along even faster. Coffee Guy 999.
You want to say hello?
You want to say something?
Howdy.
Howdy. How's it going?
Hey, pretty good. You guys might remember me as Spacehead.
Yes.
But I ordered some gratuitous coffee and evolved a little bit.
In a good way, I hope. You evolved is it a positive evolvement?
That's debatable. But I just wanted to pop in, and about a month ago, you had asked where we could buy some Monero flags with Monero, and I have good news.
Oh,
Ooh.
All right.
We have a merch store up called privatebydefault.xyz, where we have some crypto merch you could pay for with crypto.
Beautiful.
Awesome. What's the website?
Yeah, you want to post?
In large part thanks to the gratuitous coffee I've been pumping myself full of.
What's the website again? Because I'll put it in the show notes.
www.privatebydefault.xyz.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. I will. And you have the Monero flags on there?
Yes, I do.
All right. I'm going to order one. I'm going to
God.
order a Monero flag.
I'll put it in there.
I'm going to
Sweet.
run around New York City with it.
Hey, be sure to check out the Monero national flags. I got 2 sent to Mexico City recently, and they're mega high quality.
Awesome. What else do you got on there? What are some other products?
Well, you're going to have to go and explore a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. All right, man.
All right.
Thank you for anything else you want to mention? Because I think we're going to close it out.
Oh, no. I just wanted to pop in and say hi. Keep up the good work, you guys.
Thank you,
Awesome.
man.
Thank you for jumping on.
And we will check out your website. I want to order one of those Monero flags. Everybody, thank you today for the show. Elizabeth, thank you so much for everything you're doing. You came out of nowhere. It's amazing. You're our Monero hero for the week. Articmine, as always, thank you, man. Thank you for the knowledge.
Thank you.
Elias, thanks, man. Coming up, you sent that email. I said jump on Monerotopia, and you did, which is awesome. So thanks for doing that.
Okay.
And there's others, Crypt0bear. Thank you.
Yeah.
You dropped off, and
you,
everybody else that participated. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks to everyone that jumped on and who's in the chat and watching. And make sure to like this episode.
Oh, yes.
Subscribe to our channel if you haven't. Let's get those numbers up.
And buy Monerotopia tickets.
And buy Monerotopia tickets. Please do check out monerotopia.com. We'll, I guess, be relaunching the new website.
We'll be updating the website soon.
And with that, happy weekend, happy Saturday, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And we'll see you next week. All right. Bye, guys.
Ciao.